Bring different people. Let's have these discussions. We have with us Madam Edith Gongloe. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you so much, Julius, for having me on your show this afternoon.
And it is good to have you. It is not too easy to have people who are defeated in elections to just less than a week after that time to make it to a public platform to answer questions.
Trust me.
Why are you not broken?
Within days, I was walking the streets of Ganta and greeting my electorate and just chatting with people. That was on, I believe that was Thursday or Friday. I did that. And then Sunday, I went around the churches of Ganta as well, just to tell the people thank you and worship with them. I just wanted to throw in something about the discussion that you were having with the IQ level of Liberians. That's something that I personally have pondered for years. And one of the things I came to find out through research, nutrition plays a major role.
It is mentioned in this report.
Really?
Yes, it is mentioned.
I haven't read that.
It is mentioned.
But nutrition plays a major role. And what we have in this country, sometimes the way we cook our food, we kill every nutrient in it. What we are eating, we are just eating for the taste. We are not, taking in a lot of nutrients. And Liberians, we don't do a lot of supplements and stuff like that to supplement what is lacking. So, like for instance, okra has a very good nutrition for cognitive growth. But the way we cook our okra, we kill everything inside. Then by the time we're eating it now, what we're eating is really not food. It's just...
Yeah, I have one nutritionist here, and he mentioned that. He talked about walnut, honey, how they also
all those
help.
kinds of stuff. But the way we cook our food, our problem is the preparation. And I think in West Africa, we are the only country that overcook our food the way we do. We kill everything in it. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I thought it was an interesting conversation. Our food is one of our major problems. The way we cook it, and then we pack it with all the different stuff, the seasoning, the Vita. Those things are not good for your brain. Too much Vita is not good. Do the research on it.
I know that.
Right? So it's not good, but we cook so much of it, then we pack it with all the oil and stuff. So we actually are killing our body. Because the body is like, it's like computer. They say garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. So we are a product of what we eat. And so, anyway, that's for a different day. But I'm
maybe
here for something else.
Good. Let's talk about the electoral process. How was it? Were you actually hopeful of winning? And if so, why?
Of course. Look, honestly, we won this election.
How?
I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty. I'm just going to let the public know that we won this election, but we accept the result the Elections Commission gave. There are many things that happened. There were many balls that were dropped along the wayside, many manipulations. But before I go further, I just wanted to read. I wrote a short statement that I wanted to read to our supporters. If you will let me do that, and then we can go into the discussion.
I will.
So I wrote to everyone, hello everyone, to our brave people of Nimba County, our diaspora team, and the National Coalition of Women and Young People who fought for us through this process. Though the results of the recent senatorial by-election were not what we had hoped for, I come to you today with a heart full of gratitude, pride, and unwavering courage. This journey that started over a decade ago has been one of deep learning, meaningful connections, and a shared vision for a better Nimba, a vision that remains alive and strong in each of us. We may not have won the seat, but we have won something far greater: the courage to dare, the strength to stand, and the commitment to rise again. Your support, your belief, and your tireless commitment to change have been my greatest source of strength. For that, I am eternally grateful. This campaign was never about me. It was never about one person. It was about all of us, about hope, opportunity, and dignity for every son and daughter of Nimba County, regardless of their gender and or their tribe. Together, we sparked conversations and we challenged the status quo. Loss is certainly never easy. I know it because I have experienced it for over a decade. But it is not the end. It is a moment to reflect, to regroup, and to rebuild stronger, wiser, and more determined. I remain committed to the people of Nimba and the ideals that make Nimba County a great and vibrant county. To our supporters, do not hang your heads. We contested against an entire government, a garrison of army determined to keep women out of electoral politics. At every step of this journey, we witnessed a staggering misuse of power, an entire government apparatus mobilized against one individual, a single woman daring to challenge the status quo. State resources, public funds, and institutional influence were weaponized, not to serve the people, but to crush a political rival and silence independent leadership. What we faced was not just a political opposition. It was an orchestrated campaign of intimidation, obstruction, and lies, spread by those who feared change and fortified by the very systems meant to protect democracy. Public offices, media channels, law enforcement, and several bureaucratic tools were used with the singular aim of stopping our momentum and stifling the voices of our voters. And yet, despite the overwhelming force of an entire state apparatus lined up against us, we stood. We persisted because our fight was never just about politics. It was about principle, about truth, about the right of every citizen, regardless of gender or power, to stand up and participate. This campaign has always been bigger than this one woman. This one woman. It is about the courage to speak out when it is easier to be silent or it is easier to take the money and walk away. It is about proving that even the most entrenched systems of power can be challenged, not with wealth, not with influence, but with integrity, resilience, and the unshakable belief that good leadership and women's political participation is worth fighting for. I encourage you to lift your heads up high, my supporters, with pride. You stood tall in the face of challenges, systemic vices, and that courage can never be defeated. Let this moment remind us that the real change is a journey, not a single battle, but a sustained fight for what is right. Let's keep the fire burning. Let's keep organizing, mobilizing, and building the future we believe in. The road ahead may be long, but with you by my side, I know that Nimba's best days are still to come. My dear brothers and sisters in Nimba County, across Liberia, and throughout the diaspora, our journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. This is not the end of the road. It is simply the beginning of a new chapter. Courage is not defined by triumphs alone, but by the resilience to rise, regroup, and remain committed to a greater cause. I will stop here and continue with the interview. I just wanted to speak to my people and give them some level of confidence and just relief after such a hard fought battle. When they stood up, when they spoke up, and when they made their voices heard. Thank you for letting me read my little write-up to my supporters.
Okay, the voice of Madam Edith Gongloe right here on the OK Conversation on OKFM 99.5. You hinted that you won, but you accepted the result. Are you alluding to being cheated?
Well, from my experience in Nimba elections, especially when it comes to the senatorial election, this is something I've done 4 times. Even after the second time, I had enough experience. I said here when I made that statement that I'm not going to go any further. And I was intentional about that. We've accepted the result, we've conceded defeat, and we want to leave it at that. But going forward, we are going to start to push for electoral reforms because we've learned so much. And what has happened to us in Nimba, it is unfair to the people of Nimba. If the government wanted to just have a selection, there was no point of putting people through this process of saying we're having by-election. It is the right of the government. I mean, it's not something strange that this government and many other governments in the past have trampled on constitutional arrangements to do what they feel was best in their interest. So maybe this government will have just taken a bold step to say, look, we are having a replacement for Senator Johnson, and that's it. And this is who we've tagged as his replacement. And I mean, people will cry, they will make the noise, but at the end of the day, apparently, government will triumph. To put people through the rigor of this process where you spend a lot of money and you go through a lot, and then the integrity of the election at many fronts is compromised, is not good for our democracy. I think the day before the election, you even heard some people talk about an entire electoral system had been changed. Not the system, but those who had
The
been
individuals.
changed, the individuals had been changed overnight. The entire county security forces had been changed overnight. So many variables played. And I'm not going to litigate it now, but we just want the world to know, and for Liberians across the world to know, that what we had was a systemic fight against an individual for fear of change. Going forward, should this be repeated? Should this be allowed to happen to others in other counties? I don't think it should. There needs to be a rethinking, a reworking of our electoral process, maybe an overhaul of the system. There are many things that come into play in our election, especially in Nimba, from my experience, that we need to work with civil society, with the Elections Commission itself, at the national level, to see how we can make some deep systemic change in the process.
Well, I was in Nimba both way ahead of the election to do opinion polls in Kample, in Saniquile, in Saklipi, in Tapita, and I was there to cover the elections as well. And my impression, listening to some of the citizens, I knew you were in for an uphill battle. And my impression was that the election in your county is heavily tribalistic. Do you agree with that?
There's no question about it, and Nimba is not an exception. In many counties where you have multiplicity of tribes, coming together, occupying one land space, there is that tribal battle. There is no question about that. You're a journalist, you did your own assessment, you went all over and you saw the clear, divide. Like I said, it's not just unique to Nimba.
Yeah,
you will find similar thing in Lofa, you will find similar thing
the actual reason I asked,
Sino and all of that.
The reason I asked the question is, it is possible that if your tribe was in the majority, perhaps you would have won the election.
So we are not going to go into the majority and minority thing here because Nimba is unique. Of course, there are two major tribes, as everyone knows, but there are also other tribes that make a lot of import in our election process. And the majority tribes, there is almost a statistical dead heat when it comes to the number, when it comes to the population. From the last I checked, the national census, nationally, the girls were, 4,000 human beings, not registered voters, 4,000 human beings more than the man. That is almost like within the margin of error, is negligible. So the manos and the girls are pretty much evenly divided. I would say that. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but statistically, that's what it is. People from outside will not understand that. But that is not the issue. The issue on the table is not so much about the manos and the girls. It's just about making sure that the process is free and fair. Take for instance the issue of the most powerful man in the country, going to the level that he went, from village to village, using, his vice presidential motorcade, which alone is intimidating. And I mentioned that in my statement right here. That alone is intimidating. On top of that, in addition to going with the vice presidential motorcade and begging people, he also dished out money. We're talking about in the tune of more than 2.5 million United States dollars from all the information we are gathering, to people, some of whom got the money. I had an experience where a young man came into my room, literally visibly trembling, and he said, this was the order. We were called on the farm, and this was what they gave to us. I'm afraid. I don't want to cheat you, Mama, but then our life, those kinds of stuff.
Did that really happen?
Yeah, people felt threatened. And I don't think people with powerful positions in the land should be giving, that freedom.
But that is his political party, and he needed his candidate to win. He also has a right to campaign for his candidate.
Granted. But now when you employ state resources, state apparatus, security forces, solely to intimidate, it is a different thing if you sit on radio and say, this is my candidate, I endorse this candidate, vote for my candidate. And it's a totally different scenario when you literally bring in, I would say, the Central Bank of Liberia, the ATM, like people will say proverbially, by the way you dish out money and the things you say to people, and you tribalize the election. This is the damn people time. It's not the man people time. No damn man must vote for man, and man people you vote for damn people. It is unprecedented, and and I know, Julius, tribal politics. Political power is lethal. It's strong. When you infuse the tribal dimension to it, it becomes 10 times more lethal. So what has happened in Nimba, the tribalization of our politics, whether it was there before, it was not as opened, it was not as in the fore as it has been brought. And I've always said to people, when you hold political power, or you hold a power of trust or a position of trust, you got to be careful with what you say. You got to be careful with your utterances. Your utterances will be literally taken as policy statement by your supporters. So we have a situation in District 5, in Koga District, where on the day of election, where my driver and other pool washers that I have pulled from Bong County, Upper Bong, to go and wash my pools in District 5. They are threatened with cut license that if any vote comes from the center for Edith Gongloe, then I you, and all of y'all will be killed. Majority of them are high. And the guy comes, my driver is outside. He's been telling me, Mama, I want to go on radio and explain my experience. He said this guy literally was like torturing him mentally. He would come to him with the cutlass and say, you see the cutlass? I don't want to kill you. When you don't go away again and vote, I don't want to kill you. He said, Mama, I was praying that nobody, because we don't have voting right in the place, we just went as poll watchers. But I was praying that nobody there will vote for you because I didn't want to die. The guy looked serious. Why was that happening? It's because of the statement of our vice president, who is the second most powerful man in the country. When you say no man should vote and no damn man should vote for this person, and he made my name the center of his campaign. Edith Gongloe, everywhere was Edith Gongloe. Do not vote for Edith.
Well, you were the arch rival, so obviously, but coming to did you have poll watchers in all of the 736 polling places?
Look, let me tell you, Julius, there is no perfect election. Nobody, in every election, there are challenges sometimes and there are loopholes. But I can assure you that this election, we have more than 90% poll watchers to every poll. In fact, we have more poll watchers than I have ever had in any election. But there were a lot of manipulation, intimidation, and coercion that took place. Local officials were coerced with national officials. Once you came from Nimba, you were bound to go and campaign. If not, your job was threatened. So this was complete intimidation, coercion, and the misuse of power and the misuse of political power. It is weaponization of position, and I thought that I needed to speak about this. This was not a normal election. It was unprecedented, has never happened. Maybe it has happened, but not on this scale. You know, Senator Johnson used to endorse people. Senator Johnson would endorse and said, Senator did not misuse his power to the extent of threatening, if you didn't do this, you will be dismissed. I mean, I don't have that recollection. Perhaps he did, but I'm not sure it was at this magnitude.
But you fought him in an election that was close. Even the 20 was it the by-election with you and now, yeah. It was a hard-fought one.
Yeah,
against Senator himself.
I've always, you know, that's why you asked the question when I walked in here. You just came from a very bitter battle. Why are you so relaxed and you coming to speak 1 week after? It's because my fight has never been about myself. It has never been about what I can get. My fight has always been about the county that I love, providing the critical voice in leadership that seems sometimes to be a challenge in our county. So that is why after election, even when I lose money and all of that, it doesn't bother me as such. It doesn't wear me down. Because if it were to be about me, I probably would be devastated. I would be, depressed, mental health issue. I would be depressed and all of that. But the reason I've always been calm is because I've always felt the warmth embrace of my people, my constituents. They are the ones who are crying, and we all can break down. My constituents are crying, men and women and young people, and I have to be strong for them.
Well, you were billed as the candidate of the opposition. This was about 2029. This was about whether the county was still behind the vice president and all those kinds of things. You were billed as an agent of disunity in the county for others to infiltrate and divide Nimba's vote and all those kinds of things. So yeah, those could work against you.
So now I'm hearing the propaganda of those who orchestrated the kind of intimidation. That's the propaganda I'm hearing. And Julius, how will I be billed as somebody who is to disunite the population when the very population is behind me? This was not my first election. Are they telling you that in 2011 that's what I was billed as? Are they telling you that in 2014 that's what I was billed as? Are they telling you that in 2020 that what I was dubbed as? is a flimsy excuse to validate something that was so illegal, to validate something that was so unprecedented, that has never been seen before. To the extent that a certain vice president with a living president will go on radio and talk to people and say, you know, if you vote for Edith, then my chances to be president 2029, you're just 40. When you talk like that and you have a sitting president, you made the election about you. And I was not running against the vice president of the Republic of Liberia. I was running in an election that had no incumbent. I was running a by-election for a vacant seat. So when the vice president made this about himself, made this about his 2029 ambition to become president of the Republic of Liberia, for me, it was astonishing and I was shocked because I've not heard that from any sitting vice president with a president alive.
About their presidential bid.
Exactly. I've not heard that. Vice presidents are usually people who take significant back seats. You know, they're like, you know, the messengers.
But did he say that on radio actually?
No, but you know this, the citizen journalism. He didn't go on radio to say, I believe. But when you speak in any corner, whether in the village, mind you, there are people that with smartphones and they are recording and they are posting on their Facebook pages. So in this day and age that we live, you got to be careful what you say. You got to say things that you want for the public to hear, because anybody can be a journalist in that moment. But the point I'm trying to make is that the vice president made this election about his 2029 ambition, and I think it was unfair to Nimba, it was unfair to all of us, but it was unfair to me who participated in this election. Did I not believe that Vice President Kun was going to endorse a candidate? I did. I believe that he would have.
Did you try meeting him for him not to do so?
Of course, I met with the vice president. This is something, to tell you the truth. This afternoon, I saw a text from the vice president, and I was scared as to whether I should respond, because anything with this vice president is not protected.
It goes in the public?
When I came from the States, I visited the vice president. The next thing, it was all on Facebook. Somebody secretly took my picture in his yard, and it started floating it all on Facebook, derogatorily stating that I had gone to beg for mercy. And I immediately texted him. I said, what is this? You are the vice president of the nation. Your circle, your orbit should be protected. Your orbit should be it should be classified. Whatever you discuss there around the VP, no matter where you are, is a classified information. Why is my pictures all on Facebook and they're saying things that were never discussed? To his credit, he texted back, oh, this is on, this is not right. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. That was it. The next thing, I saw him on the campaign trail. When Edith Gongloe came for America, she visited me. In fact, she texted me. She said, my vice president, and I'm like, oh my God.
He was saying that on the campaign trail?
All of that on the campaign trail. You check on Facebook right now, is that in fact he was in this very okay studio mentioning how I met him. I met the president of the Republic of Liberia, and I told him and the president told me this and this and this. And I'm like, wow. So private conversations in this regime are not protected. They become campaign messages. And so when I saw the vice president today, by the way, today is my birthday.
Okay. Happy birthday to you.
The vice president texted me this morning, happy birthday, big sister. I was scared to respond because I'm afraid that my response would become again public knowledge. So I said, no, I'm not going to respond because I don't know how far this is going to go again. I'm just telling you that this sort of action terrorizes people, and it takes away from meaningful discussions and conversations and collaborations.
Yeah, before
it shouldn't be happening.
Before I go to the next point, did you, in that meeting, did you beg him from where say not to endorse somebody for him to stay out of the election? Because that was the message that we all were getting from
I will only make that statement now because the vice president has declassified our conversations with presidents and vice president in their office where they'll classify information. But since he has declassified it, I will make the statement. I did go to the vice president. My precise statement to him was, Mr. Vice President, I came to you out of courtesy because you are the most senior government official from our county. You are the father of the county. I don't want you to hear it from other people. I've come to you to let you know that I've been asked by my constituents to contest and I've agreed. So this by-election I will be running, and I wanted to let you know so that you don't hear it from a third party, you hear it from me. And his statement to me there and then was, big sister, it's just that you finished saying yes. According to you, you finished talking on the radio. But if you were to ask my opinion before agreeing to run, his exact statement, I would have advised you not to run. Because the president has interest in this election. The president wants Koga to be the senator. And if the president called me and he told me, Vice President Kun, the Nimba election, I want it. And I want Koga. So because the president has interest, now we all got to support Koga. On a normal condition, I will not support Koga because Koga has always fought me. But the President Boakai wants this election and he wants Koga. He said he wants Koga. So I just got to obey as a vice president. That was his statement to me. I would never have mentioned that had the vice president not come out to say what he said about our conversation. And when he said that, I said, well, I've already made up my mind to run. The only thing I asked, I said, if I were you, in fact, that's what prompted him to have said it is the president. I said, I'm not saying don't endorse somebody, but if I were you, if I was in your position, I would treat everybody the same. I would be a neutral player and say whoever wins, I will work with them. Because you are the most senior person in the county. That's when he said, no, I can stay neutral because the president has interest. The president particularly told me he wants Koga. So yes, we did have that conversation, and that was the nature of the conversation. It didn't go any further than that.
Did you request for any support?
After that,
financial
no. After that, there were other discussions now about, why women don't vote for women, and we just went on with normal conversation. I didn't go alone. I went with a friend. It was not a conversation between he and myself. A friend was there. But I'm just saying this. I hate to go in the past. That's in the past. That has happened. It's a learning curve. We've learned now how to proceed going further in the future. All I've come here today to say is to encourage our supporters who stood the test of time. Nobody believed that Nimba, my constituents, would have voted the way they did because they were under immense pressure. To come out the way they did, to win over 40,000 votes in a by-election is telling.
Okay.
I just want to encourage them that all is not lost. They've not lost the election. They just sparked a new conversation. When I was in high school, my high school graduation, we had a French instructor who said something to the effect of Vini Vici Vidi, that we've seen, we've conquered. This is a process of finishing to begin. So we've just finished a phase of life to begin another chapter. And that chapter will require soberness from all of our supporters, our constituents. I've come to let them know that I'm in this country. I'm here with them. I hear them. I hear their cry, their concerns, and I'm prepared to work with them continuously to meet what they want to be able to work together as a team to get the best out of this life and out of our county. If it means being their advocate, in various public policy issues. Take, for instance, right now we have the ArcelorMittal agreement about to be, signed or something like that. These are things that I want to
We
now
will
take
come to
time.
that shortly, but let me just ask you a few other questions.
Yeah.
There was this major, I think the only major critique I heard from you, from ordinary, about you from ordinary people was
I
that,
can go to America.
yeah, after every election, when you're defeated, you leave the county, you don't stay in touch, and you come back when there's another election. How do you respond to that?
So campaign over and our campaign statement.
Hmm.
And guess what? My people, my supporters, the ordinary citizens had answer for it. I didn't even have to answer those. Whenever our opponents and adversaries raise those propaganda, the propaganda of she goes and she doesn't stay, they were sharply refuted. Our supporters would come up in the press, on the radio, and say, "Well, now, so when election finish, they can fight the woman, they steal her vote, then they give her job. You want her stay, so frustration can kill her. Mama, you right to go back to America." So I didn't have to respond to those accusations, because wherever they were coming from, they were responded to by my hundreds and thousands of supporters who believed in me. And some of them even went, if the woman had not gone to America, I would have died. I have one of my supporters who went on radio and said, had Madam Edith not gone to America after 2020 election, I would have died. And rightly so. Right after the election, out of stress and all that, he came down with sugar problem and hypertension. And he got so sick, I was in the States. Then they called me and said, "Oh, Spencer is very sick. He can barely talk. He's at Ganta Methodist Hospital." I said, "No way. You're taking him in ambulance, taking to Monroeville, this Fidelity Hospital." Mm-hmm. My cousin had told me about Fidelity Hospital. I saved his life. So I said, "You're taking him to Fidelity Hospital?" They said, "No money." I said, "Forget it. Just take him. Let me know the cost." And I sent the money. He was on radio. He said if this mother had not gone to America, if she had remained here without any income, I would have been dead by now. But her being in America saved my life. I had another, supporter who I had to send out of the country for health care to Ghana. There were thousands, hundreds of people. My mom died, no money to bury them, would send money. I can show you my iPhone out there. I can show you my SendWave. You will scream, Julius J. Even though all of it was not just for supporters, some of it was used during this election. But right now, my SendWave, over 60,000 United States dollars. Start checking my SendWave from, say, October of this year to...
That is last year.
Yeah, last year, October of last year to 2021 July, after the election when I returned to the States. Check my SendWave. You will see over $40,000. It's not money that I used to build house. It's money that I used to intervene in the lives, individual lives of our supporters and ordinary people. It's out of school fees, it's graduation fees, it's hospital bill, it's marriage, it's many other things. You will see it there. In fact, what I started doing right now is writing notes. SendWave now has this new new app where when you send money, you have to write note to yourself. So now, to remember why I send the money, I'm beginning to write note. Oh, for this person hospital, for graduation fees, for school fees. I'm beginning to write note to myself so that in time I will know why and how I spend all that money.
Are you going to run again? 1, 2, are you going to stay engaged? Are you going to be more in Nimba and all of that? If at all you are going to run again in 2029 also?
Well, I'm a political animal. Nobody knows the future. I don't have a crystal ball that I can look in and say exactly 2029, this is what I'm going to do. But what I do know is that I'm going to remain politically active. What that interprets to or what that amounts to in 2029, I cannot say. Will I be active politically? Yes. Will I remain engaged with my people? Yes. A resounding yes. As a matter of fact, most of my supporters have started collecting $500. They say the old man broke, but we got to celebrate her birthday. So they're celebrating my birthday on Saturday. They are still thinking about the venue. When I talked yesterday to them, they actually wanted to do it yesterday. I said, no, I'm on my way to Monrovia. They said, we want to celebrate your birthday Tuesday. I said, Monday, I'm on my way to Monrovia. They said, but then can we do it? When you coming back? I said, maybe Friday or so. They said, okay, can we do it Saturday? So I'm just saying the engagement has already started. With my birthday, the ball is rolling. I'm going to remain engaged with the people of Nimba.
There is this thought that Nimba, in fact, it has been long. Prince Johnson, the late senator, has advocated for Nimba to produce a president. If President Boakai decides not to run in 2029, a whole lot of people think that Jeremiah Kun will run. And there seems to be this braising of Nimba for the presidency, to contest for the presidency. If that should happen, and given who he is, a political animal as well, he may request for your support. People think you went against him for the vice presidency. You supported we are against his interests. Could be one of the reasons for the fight against you. Are you going to support that idea about Nimba presidency and therefore support him?
So, I don't do preemption and I don't do prediction, political prediction and all of that. I'm not good at it. This is hypothetical, provided that the current president does not run for the second term.
Mm-hmm.
And from the last time I checked, President, His Excellency Joseph Newman Boakai, has not made any clear statement about where he stands in 2029. I don't know about that. So everything you're saying now is supposition, is hypothetical. What if it happened? And I'm like I said, I'm not good at prediction. I'm not good at hypothetical, thinking and statements. But again, the ball is in the vice president court. He, has his ambition. And I believe he clearly has a calculus as to how to pursue it and how to succeed. By the way, Nimba is not Liberia. Nimba is a segment of Liberia. And so we remember in I believe it was 2011.
Yeah, Senator Johnson ran for the presidency.
Senator Johnson ran and got almost all of Nimba. I think Madam Shalif at the time got she got the party, Unity Party, got less vote than what I got as a senatorial candidate. That means that, the late Senator Johnson got overwhelming presidential vote in Nimba. Did it cause Senator Johnson to become a president of the Republic of Liberia? No. So that is the reason why I said Nimba is just a segment of Liberia. In order to win the presidency, you have to cut across the Republic of Liberia. There are many counties, and so, like I said, the vice president, he's made it clear that's his ambition for 2029. One of the reasons why we're fiercely fought with state apparatus and state resources and state security and everything. He's not mincing his words about his ambition for 2029, but like I said, he has the calculus, he has the ways he wants to do it, the modality that he wants to work out to make sure he succeeds in 2029. I cannot speak to that. All I can talk about is I'm here, I'm in the country, I'm not going anywhere. I will remain engaged with our people because a lot of people are discouraged. I want to keep encouraging our people. That engagement could take anywhere from maybe, helping them with their agricultural activities or something, just working together, just knowing that, our madam is here, we all go around the farm together, we're going to do our little swam rice and stuff like that. It's important.
How do you intend to engage the Gilbert? Because I was in one of the polling rooms in Senatorial, which is one of your strongholds, and I saw the numbers being counted. Yeah, you won that entire place. Bokoga was somehow getting 40, 50 votes and all of that. But the results coming from that belt, sometimes you were getting 1, 0, 2. How do you intend to engage them?
Well, like we've always done, we will just remain our authentic self. Because when you are authentic, when you are genuine, people see your honesty, and those who will want to be reasonable will see your authenticity and act. And so I will just continue to do what I do, engage with everybody. Like I said, I'm going to engage with the people of Nimba, our constituents, and just make sure that we give them, that consolation, that confidence, dependence that, okay, our madam is here with us. We are all doing this together, be it agricultural activities, be it health activities, whatever it is, where we feel strong, where we are capable of helping and supporting them and empowering them. One of the things I did in the past, which I'm going to revamp, is to have the Young Girls Club and, public speaking kind of a group that we formed in Nimba, and we called it Tomorrow's Women. And we had a program on Senatorial. One of the girls from that who became the leader today, she's at the university here and doing pretty well. They are still pretty engaged. In fact, she came to Nimba to run my campaign. And she's Gio. She's Jacqueline Doe. Typical Gio. But because we have mentored them since 2020, we started 2019, and the mentoring continued. She's my mentee till today. She's like my daughter. We remain engaged. Her father is in the States. He sometimes support me for my campaign. He said, because you've made my daughter to be what I was not expecting. He has truck. Sometimes he helped me with his truck to, take my voters in the village. If some of them in Ganta and they want to go to the village, we say, okay, let my truck take them. So we'll continue to do those kinds of strategic human resource development kind of engagement, and then other aspects of engagement like helping within the health sector when the need arises. Like recently I brought a container of medical supplies, just basic stuff like syringes and gloves. We brought in some big items, like dialysis machines, which I intend to go donate to JFK in the coming days. So those kinds of engagements we're going to continue.
Just few quick questions. The opposition support to 3 of you different candidates. Were you aware of that strategy? Why didn't you run on the CDC ticket? Did they ask you? Did you turn it down or what?
So let me clear the myth. I am not a seditious. I have never been to CDC headquarters. But I endorsed President Weah's second term bid in 2023. Endorsement does not make you a seditious. In 2017, I was in Liberty Party. I endorsed the candidacy of now President Joseph Newman Boakai. I was in the States when I endorsed Boakai in 2017. And I flew from America and came here and campaigned for now President Boakai when I was in Liberty Party, from village to village in my county. And so this is not something new. I look at the election, I look at the parties and the contestants, and I make my decisions solely on the basis of nationalism. So to say that because I endorsed President Weah, then I'm seditious, then I'm supposed to be unity partisan when I endorsed President Joseph Newman Boakai in 2017. But I was clear, I'm still a Liberty partisan, but for this election, this runoff, I'm endorsing the candidacy of now President Joseph Newman Boakai. At that time...
But then why did you run independent in this one?
At that time, nobody tagged me as being unity partisan. CDC people didn't say, because she endorsed Joseph Newman Boakai, then she's seditious. They didn't say that. But then when I endorsed This time around, the clock turned and I endorsed George Weah. Then I became sedition overnight. I'm not a sedition. I ran independent because my party was in crisis. I belonged at the time to the Liberty Party. But when Chairman Mobility and now Senator and Pro Tem Lawrence, Kanga Lawrence were having their crisis, I decided not to take side because I thought that the party was bigger than any one individual. And so I think it was not to the liking of Chair Mobility, who comes from Nimba. They all felt that since I'm from Nimba, I'm supposed to take his side or something like that. But I was looking at the bigger picture that we can't keep tearing our institution apart in the name of, the other person, what they call it, their SAR, our own SAR or our own pressing team. So I refrained from that.
Okay.
I was the peacemaker. And so I was suspended from Liberty Party. I've never been reinstated since I was suspended. Therefore, I decided I was going to go independent because I have no party right now.
Okay. You may be approached for vice presidential run in 2029. Will you accept?
I don't do futuristic stuff like I told you. I don't do hypothetical stuff.
Because this is what it was also billed as, that perhaps if you have won the election, it will make you more likable, more approachable, more needed by somebody to carry you as a vice presidential candidate.
Julius, I have been tagged since 2011 by many different individuals, political actors, to run as vice president with them. Many, I will not name them on radio. Many, some big names, well-known names. But I'm a principled person. I don't jump the gun. I've said here, my run for the senatorial position was not about me.
Okay.
It was never about me. So that's why I don't do this. It doesn't get to my head. I want the best for my county. I want the best for Liberia by extension. We all want the best for this country. If that means starting from county to county at a time, for me, that is essential. I'm not looking at, titles. Oh, she will be vice president. No, I don't do future stuff because nobody knows the next minute what's going to happen.
Yes, indeed. Let's take few calls. Our next guest is in the building. 777-700-995, Few calls. And Sheikh Kuyate will walk in here. Welcome. Let's hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
David quoted my name, and I'd like to say good evening to my friend and sister. Long time no see. I'm a citizen of Nimba County by affiliation, especially Glaze or P, where you come from. And two quick issues. Number one, I think you have been defeated from time to time from what you just confirmed. You are never on the ground. And politics is not about fear. You have to be on the ground. Ellen Johnson Sully became president because she was in a struggle here on the ground. She was beaten, put to jail, and all kinds of things. So you have to be on the ground. It's not about fear. You want to be a politician, my friend, you can't be afraid. Number two, you keep talking about the vice president. This election was actually like the referendum on the vice president bill for 2029. I can tell you that. Just in case Uncle Joe decides not to go for a second term, I'm sure he's still fit and capable. He can even go for 3 times if the Constitution allows that. But if you decide not to go, Jeremiah Cohen is our next person. And this election was like a referendum to the 2029. So you can't talk much about his support for his candidate. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so kindly. Let's go international. Welcome. Let's hear you quickly.
Good afternoon. You know, the topic could be very interesting and just like that. I didn't even know that Madam Weh was coming in the studio, and I was comparing the two. The issue of tribal elections. The voice of Pierre Olumba from Kenya. He said it is an insult to him for someone to tell him, vote for this person, even if the person is incompetent because we are from the same tribe. It's an insult, Julius. The people of, I got 2 children from Nimba, Julius. So the people of Nimba, they're my in-laws. I got 2 boys, twins. And one of them even voted for Joseph Bokai. He defied me, so I will do that. You will not expect it. You will not believe it. So I don't hate the people of Nimba. But it's unfortunate, the people will say because this man is of Giome, even if the man is incompetent in the Samuel Koga, will they vote for him? How can you compare Edith Gongloe and Samuel Koga? Put the two together.
Okay.
They're not comparable. You cannot compare them. You cannot even do that. Look at the someone is speaking. Go look at Samuel Koga's video and compare to what Edith Gongloe is speaking.
Thanks so kindly. Thanks.
You just unfortunate.
Thanks so kindly. Let's take two more quickly. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Hello, Julius.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Aswane Gowan. I join you from Vansan.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let me say thank you to the madam. The madam is very, very much eloquent. She understands the issue. I got nothing to say but just to say and to tell her thank you for her resilience and thank you to the people of Nimba and thank you to the people of Liberia. Thank you very much, madam.
Thanks so kindly. Welcome. Let's hear you.
Julius. Good evening to Madam Gongloe. And this is Andrews.
Who?
Julius, this is Andrews.
Andrews who?
I'm Andrews Massacre.
Okay.
Julius, I was in Nimba, and what I saw, I've never seen this. And I don't want to dwell into the political side of it, but I want to go spiritual. You see, when God designates a particular, individual for a particular purpose, and human hands change God's direction, you find it difficult into that leadership. And since I came down, yes, Koga won. He won the way he won. We can talk all, but I tell you, he need to act for forgiveness. Not that he has done anything, physically wrong, but spiritually he did something wrong. And you're going to have a little torment with the people in
What
Nimba.
did he do spiritually?
Julius, I think the madam just mentioned that people were moving around with cutlasses. You know why I had to rush to town that night? Because it was fearful. Yes, the guys have brand new bare bottom cutlasses in those speakers.
What?
Moving from those industries. Yes, I'm giving you facts. Facts. And that alone creates people were threatening in the Monrovia parking where I was standing by. I had to go between a pickup to wait there. They came with their white pickup and they were all inside. I'm talking about more than 50 men, hanging all on the pickup. We will kill those people when they mess up the poor for that woman and this, that. And that's why the vice president Koka told us.
Okay, thanks so kindly. We'll hold you there because of time. 30 seconds from this, and let's hear you quickly.
Julius, how you doing?
I'm fine, quickly.
Yeah, this is Godwin Weh Jr. And I'm joining you from the car. But me say good afternoon to Madam Gongloe. Well, Julius, she made a statement that I just want to ask her. According to her, the vice president did not keep, the conversation they had. And the vice president surrounding exposed their conversation or so. But she went further and she said when she came from America, she met the vice president to inform me about her bid. But then she came up with the same conversation, saying that the vice president told her that the president got interested, the president sent him there. I mean, she don't see that as she's exposing or part of the conversation that she and the vice president had.
Okay, thanks so kindly. We go back to her. Just 1 minute, madam.
Okay, so I think that's the only one I have to answer to. To all of the callers who made comments, thank you so much, and to my to our all-time prolific political pundit, Mr. David Koti.
Why you call him an all-time prolific?
I mean, this guy is a prolific politician or political pundit. Well, he said it that this was a referendum on the honorable vice president. I didn't know that for his bid in 2029. I didn't know that, but he made it clear during the election, and then it's been confirmed by you. So I didn't know I was dealing with a referendum. I thought that I was in an election for a vacant seat. So that's why I said from the beginning that if this was what the Unity Party government had wanted, there was no need to have election. Just call somebody and say, okay, Koga, that you will put in here, or they meant that I can finish his term. Period. On the issue of me disclosing the conversation, the caller that just called, if you listen to me keenly, I said, now that the vice president has declassified our conversation, he has told the public what was discussed. It's now time for me to correct some of the information that he's provided. So his exposure of my conversation with him, some of which were not correct, I had to now come out to give the full disclosure of what was discussed. So, to you, caller, it is because the vice president talked. I've been talking on radio every time, and I believe in confidentiality by training and by nature. I will always say, well, I met with the vice president, we had a nice conversation. Or I met with the president of the Republic of Liberia, and we had a nice and critical conversation. I will never disclose. But the fact that he has been the one to make our conversation a campaign theme, I now have to come and give the full extent of the conversation. Thank you for asking that question.
Okay. Thanks so kindly, Madam, for accepting our invite. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Julius, and I want to say to all of our supporters, and let me, before I leave, thank the former President of the Republic of Liberia, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the former Vice President, Madam Joa Howard Taylor, Nobel laureate Nimba County, and all the top women and grassroots women, the young women who stood up, who raised the bar, and who supported us through this process. Money cannot buy the kind of endorsement that I received from Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. I am thrilled, and anyone hearing me, please convey this message to the Madam that I'm forever grateful, I'm eternally grateful for that endorsement, from such global icon.
Okay. Former Deputy